Hey everyone, welcome to Zeitgeist Zealots. I'm Forrest.
I'm Major.
I'm Robbie.
And we're back. I think we tried to do an episode last week, but it was sort of like impromptu, and I don't think
There's
it
a
was
bonus
really.
episode. We were doing.
It wasn't so much an
Dragons.
episode. It was like
We
us
missed.
shooting the shit, and wasn't really a proper episode. I think it was going to be ridiculous, a pain to actually edit. And I think like towards the end we sort of like went off on Walmart's future or something strange. But I think today we have a little bit more structure today. So I think we're going to talk about.
We're back on the path. What are we going to be talking about today, Fofo?
We're going to be talking about the first 5 episodes of Sandman.
Spoilers for Sandman episodes 1 through 5. Possible spoilers. We're going to try our best not to for the rest of the season. And then we might spoil some differences in the comics that have already happened, right? So like minute differences that have already taken place in the first 5 episodes. Like we might like notice we might point out a difference in the comics and the source material. Not that there's a lot of differences, which we'll also talk about. So, minor brush of spoiler alerts. It shouldn't. Look, I haven't read volumes 3 through 8, so I can't spoil. I can't do much spoiling for you.
Well, I think they only adapted the first 2 trades this season.
Yeah, it
so
was
I
only
think, like,
the first 2, which
so
I
yeah,
really enjoyed. We'll get all into it. We'll go over the breaks. So come back to that because I do want to talk about how I enjoyed it. Right, like. If this was Disney would have fallen into the trope, or to the trap, I should say, of putting the first volume into 6 episodes. And then I don't think anyone would have hung around after the diner episode for the second season, right? There'd be no hype. But by making it 10 episodes, anyway, we'll get into it. I loved it. What else are we going to be talking about? Besides,
at least they go the Peter Jackson route and make like 3 seasons out of the first book. So, at least they didn't do that. But yeah, I think we're talking about the new Prey movie, the 5th Predator movie, I believe.
Oh, they definitely didn't go the capitalist route, as they probably spend an exorbitant amount of money on the CGI. I can't wait to get Robbie's take on all of that.
Or 7th movie, since it was like if you count those AVP movie, those Alien versus Predator movies,
which I do. I know it's not technically canon, or I read a headline that it's not technically canon, right? But AVP 2. I hear you.
Yeah, I think they're canon in the Alien universe, but not the Predator universe.
No, other way around.
Maybe.
They're canon in the Predator universe, not the Alien universe. Because at the end of Alien 2, they hint the skull of the alien. But yes, thank you for correcting me on that. So they are not canon to Alien. They are canon to Predator. And in the multiverse of DC madness, they're also canon to Batman, right? We get a little Predator versus Batman action as well. That's a fun comic.
It's once they do, I think there's actually Archie versus Predator comic out there.
They went ham. Everyone versus Predator. And this go around, this is the 5th Predator movie. Predator 1,
like
Predator
the 5th one that's just a Predator movie.
Okay.
It's like the 7th if you count the AV, because there was like Predator, Predator 2, Predators, The Predator, which came out a few years ago,
Predator
and
First
then
Blood,
now
and then Predator First Blood, Last Strike. Don't forget
Predator and the Chamber of Secrets, and Predator versus Predator, like Kramer versus
Predator
Kramer.
The Two Towers. Cool. Let's do Predator first. You guys, have you seen? You saw it, Rob? Did you see it? Listeners, did you see it? Tweeted us at Zilla Podcast if you saw this on your couch or in your local cinemas, because I wonder how much of a difference that puts on the user. I mean, obviously it creates some kind of difference, but I've got a nice system at home. So yeah, let's just do you want to do overall thoughts and then we'll break it down, or do you want to just kind of walk through the movie and then we'll just talk about it as we go along?
Yeah, we can just do overall thoughts real quick. Thought it was good. It's funny, I rewatched the first one, and I don't think I've seen it all the way through before. The original one with Schwarzenegger, and I definitely still prefer the first one with Schwarzenegger. But definitely. I mean, I think the word on the interwebs is that this is the best one since the Schwarzenegger one, and I don't think it's weird. I haven't seen any of the Predator movies, any of the Predator sequels besides
Because
the
they're
first
bad.
Alien vs Predator. Yeah.
I have seen them. They're not nearly as good. It's like forget Terminator 1. It's like if Terminator 2 was Terminator 1, right? And then the rest of the Terminator sequels, or the rest of the Predator sequels, right? Like somebody out there loves them, and if you love them, thank you. That's awesome. I'm sure they appreciate it.
Go Danny
Right.
Glover.
And
Adrian Brody fans, yeah.
This is just Terminator all over again, right? Like this was a successful, amazing American franchise. I mean, this is, if anything, more American than ever now that it's Native American. Like I really, really love that aspect, and I'm sure I'll talk more about this later on. But it actually harks back to some comics too. Like there's some source material in the comics during this age, so that's pretty interesting. Rob, what did you think about this movie?
Well, I didn't see Prey, but I saw Sandman, and I really enjoyed Sandman. It had some awesome CGI, great story. I'm a fan of sci-fi, so.
I loved Sandman.
You could just, and I think that review also applies to Prey. Good sci-fi, good CGI.
Yeah.
There was.
Is it sci-fi? What sci-fi was there?
Prey in sci-fi?
It's,
oh wait,
Alien.
Was there?
at least about Sandman.
It was
Sandman.
no,
I guess.
no. Sandman's, you can call it sci-fi, high fantasy. You can call it whatever you want to, bro. It's a dreamscape. I can't wait to talk about Sandman. Unfortunately for the listeners, we're gonna hold this back to the second half because we're gonna go over Prey first.
Yeah. So.
But where's the sci-fi and the Predator movie? Was it the invisible ship? Was it the Invisible Man the entire time? I felt like I was watching Moon Knight all over again. Like I know the budget was under 100 million, and they really, I don't know where they spent the rest of that money.
Probably on the authentic fur trappings, or the authentic wear and gear, the garb for the fur trappers. Yeah, that was actual dung on their faces on the French fur trappers, I guess. So
and as we all know, thanks to inflation, that dung is at an all-time high. So that's probably
exactly. Yeah, it's more expensive than hemp. So
now,
also
a more cruel critic might say that you're right and that this movie is full of shit. I'm not going to say that, but I'm going to point it out to be witty. But I'm going to say I don't agree with that harsh critic, and I think they should calm down a little bit. So the movie starts out right, and we see our main character. She's hunting. She hears something overhead, right? She hears some noise, and later on we find out she calls it a thunderbird, right? Which is a traditional, ancient mythological
Native American
lore.
Comanche mythology.
Right.
Yeah,
now,
so
we might know this better as a Zapdos, but for the Native Americans, we call it a thunderbird. Does that imply that the predators have been here before?
It's
Isn't
interesting.
it like their first time?
I don't know.
It's the individual predators' first time. Like this is like where they go to like become a man or a woman, whatever the gender of the predators are, right? To earn their their quinceañera, their bar mitzvah, their passage of rites, right? They go and they hunt and they kill, but calling that a thunderbird, it implies that they've been here before.
Well, what I want to know is,
it just made me think about it.
The way they tied this movie into like the other Predator movies was that the musket that she has was in Predator 2.
Yeah.
But by that logic, I think this is my original idea. Obviously, the Predators massacred her village after the movie and got the musket back, and that's the only way it could be on the alien ship in Predator 2. Because they had that same musket. So but also I want to know is like how come like maybe anthropologists or no one knows about the predator skull that she brought back, or maybe I can understand the predator skeleton not being found because in the quicksand, but how come no one knows about the predator skull in the present day? It's obviously lying around somewhere.
That's a great question. So are all the Bigfoot skulls, right? You're absolutely right, but they still can't, quote unquote, find them right next to the predator skulls.
Yeah, but
Right?
like
No.
to go back to your original point of like, has the predator ever been on Earth before? It could have come to Earth before, like maybe
Yeah.
a long time ago, somewhere else on the. It's just like
Perhaps.
whoever killed the predator at that point, or if the predator even got killed, there was just like no physical evidence. But I think after this
Right.
movie, there should be physical evidence of this predator being around, and especially
At
around
least, like,
1987 when the first movie
A
came out.
legend, at least like a vocal or a local legend, right? If anyone survived from the tribe, right? If anyone died, then there'd be no one to tell that story.
Yeah.
Ryan Airy from Screen Crush, pointed out something really beautiful in the film, which I thought was just super annoying at first, or not annoying, confusing. Like, what's happening here? Because I was thrown off, as the listeners could just check out. I thought the Thunderbird, right? It's a Thunderbird and it's the ship, so I thought the predators had been there, multiple times before. So I was really confused by the predator, like watching the ecosystem. And then Ryan Airy from Screen Crush pointed out, like, it's observing the ecosystem and the food chain on this planet to see who is the dominant hunter, so he can attack the dominant hunter. And I really like that. So that this proves or kind of throws a wrench in my Thunderbird theory, which is fantastic because I don't give a shit about any of my theories. These are just ideas I'm having while I'm watching it or while I'm taking a shower. So I really enjoyed that once someone pointed out to me that that's what is probably happening.
Yeah, it's interesting. They mentioned about like some other mystical creature. I think in passing, I can't remember the exact name. It started like with an M, but it was like another creature from like Comanche folklore that they brought up. That the predator was. So yeah, that goes back to your point that,
Is that
the predator. Yeah,
a xenomorph?
Possibly yes. Some sort of cryptozoological being or a xenomorph from the Alien franchise. So. Maybe they'll do
or
an AVP
mountain
3.
lion, which is the lion.
AVC. AVPC. Wait, AVPVC. Alien vs Predator versus Comanches.
Hey, while we're talking about Alien vs Predators, I'm gonna ask you listeners at home a trivia question. I'm gonna ask the host, really, right? But really, I want Forrest, because you might know this answer. I want Forrest to give the listeners a couple seconds to think about it first, so they can kind of try to come up with their answer. Who was the first person to get killed by a Terminator, an alien, and a Predator? Who was the first actor? Do you want a hint?
It's all the same actor?
All the same actor. The first actor to get killed by a Terminator, a Predator, and an alien. This is for all the IMDb buffs out there.
I'm gonna say, is it Lance Henriksen?
I'm gonna give you a hint.
Because I
think he's famous for the Wilhelm scream. It's Bill Paxton.
I just feel like Lance Henriksen. Really? Okay.
Yeah, Bill Paxton was the first actor to be killed by all three.
Okay, but I think like Lance Henriksen was in AVP, he was in Aliens, and he was in I think the Terminator. So he was in like all three of those franchises because he was Terminator, Aliens, then AVP. So that's why I said him. But okay. Bill Paxton, I guess he was in Elite Predator 2. Why do you say Bill Paxton was killed by Predator first?
Wasn't Bill Paxton killed in Alien vs Predator?
He was in let's see. He was in Aliens with Lance Henriksen. Yeah. He was in Predator 2, I think, but I thought that took place after the first Predator.
Yeah.
And he was in the Terminator. And
okay.
I know he's like one of those punks who was killed.
All right, no. I'm looking at a Screen Rant article right here. The only actor to be killed by a Predator, a Terminator, and a Xenomorph. Right, the only actor to be killed in a Terminator movie, a Predator movie, and an Aliens movie is Bill Paxton. Don't make me second guess myself on my movie trivia.
I think you said the first actor killed by
Yeah,
those creatures.
I think there's a second actor. I think later on someone else gets killed in the AVP who's been in the other two franchises, but I don't know who that is.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think Bill Paxton. You're right. Bill Paxton has been in all three of those franchises. So is Lance Henriksen. But I think,
according to Screen Rant, he's the only one. So maybe the first and only. Whatever, bro. On a technicality, I'm still right. You can still be the first and only.
Okay.
First,
for some reason, I thought you were talking about a character who was the same character in all three franchises.
Oh yeah, that's because I said character, but I'm an actor. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. To which I would ask you, Forrest, what the fuck, bro? Like, you've been watching too much Marvel, man. they're not in the same universe. Like, maybe Predators are in Alien. Maybe Aliens are in Predators, but there's definitely no Terminators.
That's true.
Yeah, you've been watching too much Marvel, bro. Which is it's the sleepy sickness. It's happened to all of us. That's what we call that the phase 4. We call that the phase 4, the sleepy sickness.
So, but yeah, back to Prey.
They hunt the mountain lion. She has a great idea, right? Now this movie is very. So, I'm gonna say this. Like, I thought this movie would be like a really cool, like, female empowerment story. You have like a strong female character, right, who is trying to become a hunter, and she, and like her storyline parallels, mimics the Predators storyline. Right, because like the Predators, for those who don't know, the lore, which AKA one of the things I didn't love about this movie, literally zero lore building, zero world building, except the fact that we find out that the Comanche can speak English in the 1800s, 1716. But like we'll talk about it later. No real lore building. What was I talking about? I got
the mountain lion. I think like the brother has to take her home.
Oh yeah, so we can have parallel stories, right? So the Predator, what happens? The Predator's coming down to prove himself. He's on a warrior mission. Like like they have that fancy Comanche word, which I wouldn't dare try to say it again. My South Carolina ass. So like it's a warrior's quest, right? And that's the same thing the Predator's on. So like it's right there in front of you, and it's one of the best elements and one of the best tools you can use for story writing is having like your antagonist and your protagonist on parallel stories. And when done correctly, it's a beautiful like story of like how like they're really like the same but the different sides, and they're all doing their thing. But instead this turned into like some kind of like, I don't know, prove everyone in my tribe wrong, like glass ceiling shattering like montage or whatever, like so she's like a 15-year-old girl or whatever, and all like the tribe guys don't think she can be a warrior, and like neither does her mom, right? So I get that, right? Like it's sexist and that's bad. She's our main guy. We're pulling for her, and I do pull for her. She was well cast and well acted, right? But no one believes in her, and then she starts out, no one thinks she can be a warrior, and by the end of it she's like the warrior chief, and she's like in charge of moving the tribe or whatever. So I just don't understand why they went for this weird storytelling, glass ceiling shattering storytelling like tool instead of like this parallelism that they could have used instead, to show like the similarities between her and the Predator, right? And like I didn't have a problem with her. Like if anyone was like, oh, that's like I have a problem like Mary Sue's, like I don't. I loved Rey and her Mary Sue-ness. Like let's go for Force Awakens. Like I don't have 3 movies to watch Rey go to Dagobah and study and train to be a Jedi. Like if she wants to be OP at the very beginning, like I don't care. Let's go. So I guess the long and the short of it is, if this was a better story, I wouldn't have a problem at all. But I feel like they just missed a better story, like low-hanging fruit.
Well, I think the reason people are like resonating with this one more so than the other sequels is that I think it like went back to the basics of Predator, which is basically it's like a sci-fi version of the most dangerous game, where like humans are being hunted for sport, and I really like that they showcase like the different reasons people hunt in this in this film. Obviously you have the Comanches who hunt for survival. They hunt, it's like also like a ascension to adulthood.
But do they?
Well, yeah, I mean,
She
they have
was
to hunt. They have to
trying
hunt for food. They have to hunt for like their clothes, and they use every part of the buffalo. And you have the fur
Exactly.
traders who hunt for
Well, wait a second,
capital
wait a
gain.
100%, right? Like that's how we grew up. Like we grew up in Cherokee country. Like this was like what you learn in elementary, middle, and high school. So my question is, she is hunting this unknown creature, the predator, right? With these, one huge twig, foot long. And she like tries to kill a bear. She like shoots arrows at a bear. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? What are you gonna do? You gonna carry that 600-pound bear back to your tribe? Like, what's the point of that? Are you gonna eat the bear? Like, you were just trying to kill a bear to kill a bear. Like, were you gonna like use all of the bear? Anyway, go on.
Yeah, and then you just like the third, like you have the Comanche who hunt for like survival, and it's like a quest for manhood when you go in your first hunt. You have the fur trappers who are hunting purely for economic gain. They'll just leave the buffalo skin. They don't use all of it, and you have the hunter and the predator who hunts for sport. So, and I think maybe in predator culture, hunting is like also like a quest for manhood. But I think for the most part, they're not hunting for survival. They have freaking ships and advanced technology. So they're hunting for sport, like in the first movie. So I thought it was interesting. Like we have like 3 different reasons why these people are hunting, and they showcase all 3 of them. But yeah, like you said, I really like the scene where like we don't see the predator, I don't think, until like halfway through when he takes his camouflage off. But before that, we see him like kill the bear, lift him up, and we just see him covered in the bear's blood. So that was a cool visual.
So
right
let me
there.
ask you about this, because the predator is pretty much naked, right? He's got a loincloth and a skull helmet. How is he invisible? I thought that was like the armor they had.
Alien technology.
Hand waving and alien technology. All right, moving on.
So
he wears on his
like I was just because like I asked myself that question later on in the movie, and I try to come up with plausible because I'm not just like a naysayer. Like I'm okay with alien technology. Let me try to think my way through this alien technology. But then I came back to the blood scene with the bear. And like the blood drips all over him. You see it like the individual like hair, right? So like this invisibility must like come from the skull or come from his Power Ranger wristband and then just form over his skin like Captain Marvel's bangle. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Maybe it's the helmet. I thought like the helmet, like in the trailers, because they showcased the predator. Then
I'll get to the helmet. Don't worry, I've got some things about the helmet.
I thought that was like him wearing the bear skull, but I realized it might not be as big. But
all right, we'll talk about the helmet now. How do the predators see? Do they only have infrared? I thought infrared was like one of like their scopes.
Well, no. In the first movie,
when he takes off.
They can't see at all. It's like all red, and like the helmet helps them see like just heat signatures. But like when he takes the helmet off in the first movie, all he can see is red, and he can barely see Dutch. But he knows Dutch is like has no weapons, so he can like just take him on hand to hand.
So our predator in this movie Prey? Is he wearing the skull of an enemy he's killed, or is that a tactical helmet in the shape of a skull of an enemy? Or it's definitely not the shape of his skull. Okay. All right. Then I'm okay with that. Cool. That makes sense.
So, but yeah, I think like after she gets captured by the fur, I think like we finally see she leaves to go fight the predator on her own. She gets found by her tribe. The tribe gets killed by the predator, and then they go running off, and she gets captured by the fur trappers. Mm-hmm. And then one of the fur trappers speaks English, and apparently they've already captured her brother.
So let me ask you about this.
Oh, yeah.
The Comanche speak English and the language of the Comanche. The French Canadians speak French and English, which would imply that English is its own language, not just a convenience that the director used, like the suspension of belief, right? Like, when we watch foreign films, most of the times, right, especially if you want to be a blockbuster, you don't want to like read subtitles for an hour and a half, right? Yeah. So one of the tools that directors will use is some of them, the classier ones, right, will start with the foreign language with subtitles and then slip into English, and then the rest of the movies in English. right? Other ones will just be straight English in a country that doesn't speak English and no one's native English speaker, right? But these guys sometimes spoke Comanche, other times spoke modern day English, not even like old English that you would speak in the 1700s. And I was like, okay, well, this is weird, but like they want to respect or they want to pay homage to, like the Comanche heritage, so like that's cool. But then the French showed up, and then the French started speaking in French, and then they started like translating in English, and then it just totally took me out of the movie.
Well, when I was watching on Hulu, there were no subtitles from when the French were speaking.
None whatsoever. I was like, I missed like 20 minutes of the movie because I don't speak French.
Yeah, so that was an interesting creative choice. But from what I understand, like when the French are speaking English, it's the intention is that he's just speaking Comanche.
Hey, let me ask you this: why have the subtitles in French? Like you either you know French or you don't know French. Like, is this just for high school students who don't know how to listen to French but know how to read French?
Well,
like,
I think you mean
the
French
subtitles.
I think you mean the closed captioning, because like if they had done subtitles for the movie, then the closed caption would have like been over and you wouldn't be able to read it. That happens to me sometimes when I'm watching.
I usually watch with closed captions on. So, like, was the closed captions in French as well, or was
the closed captions
from the movie?
Because I watched the closed captions on, and they were in French. And if they had done subtitles, I wouldn't have been able to read them because I would have to turn closed captioning off. But
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but like you said, like the
so
French,
weird that the.
But you know what's going on. Like basically, the French fur trappers are hostile to the Comanches.
I don't have a problem with that. Like, I don't need to speak the language if it's done properly to like enjoy like what's happening. Like real art like extends above all communication mediums.
Exactly. Well, war is the universal language, as I think we all found out in this movie.
My degree in mathematics makes me want to say otherwise.
Oh yeah,
it's the universal language.
That's true.
Oh, math.
Yeah. Anyway, so they, her brother and what's her name, Nuru, they get tied to the tree. I guess like in that scene, it was like apparently a forest fire had occurred earlier, and that's why like all the trees were barren and it was all foggy. Otherwise, apparently they just got there after World War I battle.
I did want to point out it was 50 minutes and 22 seconds before we saw some red lasers from the Predator.
That's good. They don't need to like show everything at the beginning. And I wish I kind of wish they had just shown less of the Predator earlier on, because I think they show like the actual ship dropping him off and like they actually show him like putting on the camouflage. I wish they'd like not done that.
Clouds, and they show a hint. They do show a hint of it, but it's like literally like a second.
No, they show his actual ship, and they show like the Predator putting on his camouflage like early on in the movie.
Oh, I'm thinking of the cold open before the title.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Yeah, if they'd done that, that was fine. But I think after that, like 20 minutes later or 10 minutes later, they showed like the actual ship.
Yes,
except I was like,
why?
Yeah, they shouldn't have.
Why not build on the lore? Like that's what I would have wanted to see. I wanted to see like him strapping up. Like, is this a ship by himself? Is he in a ship with a bunch of different crew members? Like, are they all drunk? Are they drinking? And this guy's going out. Is he scared? Is he praying before he goes out to this unknown planet? Like, build me some damn lore. Like, this could be such a good universe in a world where we have nothing but spin-offs and sequels. Like, build me some damn lore. Like, let's get a Predator franchise going again.
Well, I think they're trying to get one. I think they opened the left door open for a sequel after that. I think I stuck around for the after credit scene, but I think they did leave the door open for more Predator movies.
After credit scene, how sophisticated.
Ooh la la. I probably should have watched it before doing this podcast, but I fell asleep.
I didn't know they had an after credit. Oh wait, no, wait. Are you talking about the after credit scene, or are you talking about the cave drawings during the credits?
Oh, I don't know. Apparently there was. I thought I read there was an after credit scene.
I didn't hear anything about a post credit scene, but if you stick around for the credits, right, it tells the story that you just watched with cave drawings. It's actually really well done. It's very artistic. It looks really nice. But at the end of it, it shows a bunch of alien ships coming down and wiping out the tribe, which is how they get the musket.
And basically fodder for the Ancient Aliens TV show on History Channel. Just all these cave drawings with UFOs.
Ooh, I can't wait for the next season after this.
Yeah. So, all right. So, I think after the predator kills all the fur trappers, they somehow make it back to the camp. I think her brother goes to get a horse. They fight at the camp. She learns how to use a musket in like 2 minutes.
She learns how to use the musket from the fur trappers. So she
Yes.
she fights 6 of them. She
And he's given like,
kills 6 of them, 6 grown men.
but before without the musket though, she kills him like in like her with
Yeah.
her hatchet or her tomahawk with the string on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, she learns how to use a
Is
musket.
that cultural appropriation? Anyway, not important. Going on.
Well, it's interesting. Like I
It
don't want to skip to the end right away, but I think
Yeah.
one of my major issues with this movie was the ending and the way she does eventually defeat the predator. I don't think it was very convincing, considering she had just learned how to use a musket. How the hell would she know that the predator's laser guidance system is going to stop short on her face, go around and hit the predator from behind?
That's aimbot, baby. Aimbot's just instinctual.
Oh.
I mean, that's what I mean. Am I wrong? Is that like he was gonna hit her with the laser sights, and then like he shot his gun or his gauntlet, whatever, and then like it went around in a circle and hit him in the head. Is that what happened?
No, I think it's complete bullshit. It was terrible, and I just want to point out that 50 years earlier, Newton formulated his theory of gravity.
Mm-hmm. I'd also, not to mention, like I think she pulled him into the quicksand, and a being that can like lift a freaking grizzly bear over its head, you're not gonna be able to pull it anywhere if you're like, I mean, I don't weigh that much more than her. I'm probably, and I wouldn't be able to pull him.
She was like, granted, she was thicker than some of the skinny ass French Canadians she was beating up, but like she does like take down 6 men in a row. And I was like,
yeah,
so and I was like, what is happening here?
Relief, yeah.
Like
maybe they were like really, really, really drunk.
Maybe they were, or really, really skinny, or really, really French. But kidding, I love my French listeners out there. But like, here's my thing: like, she in her tribe, she wasn't good enough to be a hunter, right? Mm-hmm. If they start out the movie and it was like, yeah, her brother is this amazing warrior hunter, right? Because he becomes the warrior chief, right? And she is also an amazing hunter, right? Like, she can still fight male oppression and be a really good hunter, right? But the fact that they make her a really bad hunter and kill the fucking predator, get the fuck out of here. Like, what are you doing here? Like, this is not writing. Other things I want to talk about writing, if I can tangent for a second, because this is unscripted. Well, it's outlined. I wouldn't say scripted. I felt like the writer had just read. No, I take that back. Scratch that. I feel like the writer just watched a 10-minute YouTube video on Chekhov's gun as a writing tool, and decided to throw it in 10 times in this movie. To little effect and to little avail. Like, I'm writing this in real time, right? And you'll see I'm talking about at one point. If you want to see it, you can join our Discord. We'll put a link in the description. It's free to join if you want to be a part of the conversation and check all this stuff out. But at one point, we're watching our main character, and she's like trudging through the woods, and then it cuts to the predator, and he's got some kind of like, I jokingly I said shark repellent, right? Talking about Batman, right? He's got some kind of like WD-40 that melts the flesh off of the bones of his skull, of these, like, the skull of the wolf he kills. And it's like a 7-second scene, and I was like, oh, that was dumb. I wonder if that's Chekhov's like skull. And then like you fast forward like 45 minutes, and like one of like the Native American guys like stabs the predator in his leg with that skull, and it's just like, it didn't slow the predator down. It didn't do anything at all, except it felt like it just felt like a 12th grade high school student just read about Chekhov's gun and was like, let me throw this in a bunch because it's really cool.
And don't forget the orange flower that makes your heat signature go away, which, I guess was an interesting idea, but that just seems less plausible than covering yourself in mud to me.
So covering yourself in mud is an external barricade that stops the heat, right?
Yeah.
Ingesting a substance that lowers your body temperature to the point where you don't show up on infrared, is literally killing you, right? Like there is a reason why if your temperature is 95, 94 degrees, you're going to the doctor. If your temperature is 90 degrees, like you might be dead, right? But like you're definitely still showing up on like the heat index for a predator. Let me ask you this: talking about bag rotting, was this a different script passed around Hollywood, and someone's like, "What if we turn this into a Predator movie?"
This was originally just like a
Just
like
a
a
coming of
prelude.
age, just
like
like
a
a
French
woman,
and
just like a
Indian-
woman, a Native American female empowerment coming of age story, and they were like, "Yeah, but like instead of just killing a bear, what if we just what if we also had like a predator?"
I don't know. I think it's just like one of those instances where you need to look at the production section of the Wikipedia page for Prey. Because didn't you say this was like a comic? Or like maybe there was a comic story where I think the Comanche fought predators?
Loosely based on this around this time period. There is a set of comics, right? To the point, and like some of it's very, I want to say like, I don't know if it's faithful to the source material, but it at least pays like homage to it, like the way, like she kills like the way she lures the predator out at the end with like the French guy, like that was in the comics.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I think let's get some final thoughts on this. Let's move on to Sandman a little bit. But yeah, so like she kills the predator obviously, and she brings its head back to its tribe. And
she painted herself in their blood. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking about the hundreds of diseases that he probably brought with him that he's immune to, but we're not. And she's just covered in and then it just made me think about the blankets and just how terrible the Europeans were. But that was silly. Don't cover yourself in blood, people, especially if it's radioactive green.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe he got vaccinated for coming to Earth. Like if you want to go hunt on a different planet in the predator world, you have to like get vaccinated, so you don't so you don't leave, like you don't kill off their population with your germs. So maybe like they pre-vaccinate for going to a different.
That makes sense. Sometimes you have to get like your tetanus shot before you go to summer camp. That makes sense, right?
Sort of like like you can't bring any animals into Australia that are not native to Australia. And I don't think you need any vaccinations before you go to Australia, but there might be a similar policy in the predator world.
That's because they don't have vaccines. If something bites you in Australia, it kills you. There's no vaccines for that poison.
They have like giant spiders, snakes, crocodiles. It's like a very dangerous place to be. But yeah,
and some of the greatest people ever. Let me ask you this: do you know what the only other movie the director?
He did the Cloverfield Lane movie with John Goodman.
10 Cloverfield Lane, yeah.
Yeah.
Or is that
which I liked.
Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, it was I mean, I like John Goodman. I didn't think it was awful. I think the only issue was like
John Goodman.
It was sort of convenient that he knew that the apocalypse was going on, so I think he was always. I'm trying to remember the movie, but I'm pretty sure like he kidnaps the girl, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, and it just so happened that as she was trying to make her escape, there was a woman trying to get into the shelter. So I think that was like a huge plot convenience. But besides that, I think I enjoyed the movie. John Goodman's always great.
Right.
But anyway. Let's move on to Sandman now, because I think
let's get Robbie's final thoughts, and I want to give mine as well.
I'll
give mine. Well, Rob doesn't have any final thoughts. Rob, do you have any final thoughts on our review since you watched the movie?
I'm sure you want to watch the movie now.
From your review, it sounds interesting, but with
it's a movie.
Flaws, it seems like.
Yeah. It's on 5 stars. It's 2.5. It's wonderfully average, right? It's not bad. It's not stand out. It's not great. And here, I'll tell you why. There's no compelling victim, right? And if Forrest at the beginning was talking about, I don't know why I haven't seen the other Predator movies. They suck. There's no compelling victim. Or did I say victim? Sorry, villain. I don't know why I said victim. It's villain right here on the outline. There's no compelling villain, right? Like they could be the Predator's cool. The Predator. It could the Predator. The Predator could be a very cool antagonist if they did some lore building. If I knew any of his motivations, what's he doing, man? Like 1 second he's fucking like like skinning a snake, and then like 10 minutes later he's fucking like lifting a bear over his head and showering in its blood. What is this guy doing? I don't know. It's not compelling. I have no idea what the antagonist is doing. And because of that, like, dude, what if the earth is about to explode because what if there is a xenomorph, right, 100 miles away, and his ship crash landed, and he's got to get there to kill the xenomorph to save all the humans, right, because of Prometheus and the humans are experimenting, blah blah blah. I don't know, right? But that could be compelling. But I don't know if he's here to kill a xenomorph, because I don't know why he's here, because he's not a compelling villain, because this is shit writing.
Yeah, it's sort of like in Family Guy, where like Jaws has to team up with Man to stop bigger Jaws, and so like Man has to team up with Predator to stop bigger Predator.
Yeah,
which I think actually happened in the last Predator movie. Like they had to team up with the Predator to stop bigger Predator. So maybe that would make the villain more compelling. But besides that, yeah, I mean, they went back to basics, but I think it was smart. I think if to make any changes would just be like maybe spend more time with the other Comanches. Like, I think what was so cool about the first Predators, like, you know, you really got to know the team before they got killed. And I think we barely know any of the other the tribe, anyone else in the tribe before they got killed too. Maybe like learn a little bit more about the fur trappers too. You know, maybe expand upon them a little bit more. You know, and they're supposed to be like the real bad guys, but you know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you saying that there wasn't a compelling villain?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And then maybe like fix the ending and like found like a better way to kill the Predator, because I think in the first Predator movie he just like drops a tree on him.
Oh, did we even talk about how we kill him? We just hinted at. No, we talked about aimbot, right? Like
it's weird. She knows that he's going to like point his gun at her at the exact moment to where
because she saw it happen earlier. She saw it happen that the bullets don't.
Did she? Okay, I didn't really.
She saw, yeah. When she was like attacking like the last French guy, right? She saw that like the Predator was trying to shoot the guy with the gun, but the bullets were going to where the red dots were aiming, right? So my first question is, how dumb is this Predator? Is this a 7-year-old Predator? You know,
I recant my statement. Then it's a perfect movie.
Perfect movie.
Yeah,
can we talk about?
It seemed a bit more
perfect. I want to talk about something way more perfect, and that is the biggest surprise of the year, in my opinion. And that's maybe my expectations were so low, or maybe because this was just so damn good. But let's talk about Sandman. Can we talk about Sandman?
Yeah, let's talk about Sandman.
Guys, tweet at us at Zealot Podcast on Twitter, or comment below. What did you guys think about Sandman? Have you seen it all on Netflix? Like, what did you think about it? What an experience. What did you guys think?
So I guess we'll just go over the first 5 episodes today, and so basically, yeah, I think this was a pretty fair adaptation.
Where's the 5th episode end? Just for the listeners.
Right when it ends. I think it wraps up like the first story arc in the comics, where like Dream has to get all 3 of his tools, which is like the bag of sand, the helm, and the ruby. It was post Diner, so it was like I think when he defeats John Dee, and then I think like the first volume ends when he's talking to his sister Death. So it's sort of like
John Dee
spills into episode 6.
The Dream Ruby, right?
Yes, and
right. So we will spoil minor things from the comics. Like in the comics, it's much more DC related, right? As you saw from the intro of the TV show, this was a Warner Brothers production, right? And this was originally a DC comic. Right, so John Dee was in fact in Arkham, not this random hospital, and he used to be Dr. Destiny, not just some guy's kid.
But anyway, let's break it down. To tie back to a previous episode of this podcast, I wrote a script for a TV writing class, and it was for an episode of Justice League Action, and the villain in it was Dr. Destiny. So if you want to go back in our catalog, the episode was called Justice League Action, the Lost Episode, and you can hear us do a cast recording of that. And it includes Dr. Destiny and Superman and Batman and Joker.
I'm Batman.
Wonder Woman. Yes, Major's Batman. So, and Robbie was Superman.
That's our most watched podcast episode. You should check it out.
I actually think the GameStop.
Where is it?
Is still
Spotify.
Yeah.
Look behind you, Major.
So
There he is. There's my
Exactly.
$3,000 painting of Batman.
2,000?
3,000.
Oh, 3,000.
What?
Okay, that's more. So,
$3,000.
Gee,
is that did Neil Adams draw that for you? Rest in peace.
We will have a different podcast about that.
Oh, that's a whole different
experience.
story. Okay. interesting.
Yes, it is.
Um,
But this one, I can't, because I don't want to talk about it now. It's an amazing story, but right now, I want to talk about this amazing story. Neil Gaiman, a plethora of amazing writers, authors from the comics, and then the screen adaptation. Like, this was wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed this. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, there were
Yeah.
some changes I didn't agree with, and I definitely think they unnecessarily pushed some. I mean, to be fair, Sandman has always been very progressive comic. Like even when it came out in like the late '80s.
Yeah.
But I felt that they sort of unnecessarily dialed that up to like past 11 to 15, all the way to 20 unnecessarily. It sort of like hindered the
you thought I got
storytelling.
You thought I got woke?
Oh yeah, but like people are always saying like Sandman was always woke. Yeah, but I think not at the cost of the storytelling, and I think they made some
Okay.
changes.
if you look
Alright.
at every relationship, it's either gay or you're interracial.
Yeah,
In like
Yeah.
every relationship, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, that wasn't an issue. I think just the problem for me was there's minor gripe. And this is like past episode 5, but the episode where like he goes to hell in the comic, he has the competition with the demon, but they changed it to where he's fighting Lucifer instead.
Right.
And I didn't think that was necessary. I think it was just to give Gwendolyn Christie more to do, and also in the comic.
Absolutely. You can't look. She's getting set up. She's getting set up for season 2, bro. You can't give
Yeah.
Gwendolyn Christie
Season of
lines,
Mist.
right?
Yeah,
So
and-
I agree with that because there's another character I really liked, Flay of Night, right at the Serial Con, and they merged him with Corinthian. So I agree with that. But you as a professional screenplay writer, you understand.
I'm not
merging
professional,
any-
amateur. I think you have to,
Amateur.
like sell something.
I'll
and
buy
make
for
your
$1.
living.
Will that make you? I'll buy.
I'll buy that for $1. RoboCop.
I was Batman. Kids, can I tell you about the time I played Batman growing up?
Yeah.
No. So. Yeah. Okay. So I see what you're saying about that. I
Maybe we
agree.
should break down by each episode, and I think like the first episode, like Robbie said, like I think like in the first episode, like his son is gay. I don't know if that was the issue. I don't think that happened in the comic. So it's like
He was.
I don't know. I don't think that enhanced the story. I don't understand why that was really done, except
Except it
you
was
know.
in the comics. That's. I went back and double checked because I was
Alex
like, is
was
this-
married to a man.
not married. He was just gay, and that guy was his assistant, executive assistant, or whatever. you
Well,
wanna
I know
call it.
like the site. Well, it's interesting, like because there was a
Rick,
character called
whatever.
Sykes. What was that? Well, no, I think in the comics, there's a character called Sykes, the black dude, who was in the episode, but he sort of just like stops being in the episode. But in the comic, he has an affair with Ethel Cripps, and they run
Yes,
off together with the
that was-
Vitamin. So I thought,
I'm okay with that. Like, introduce John D. Like, condense that down, right? Like, did they need an abortion in this story? Sure, why not? If it saves a character and it saves paying an actor $100,000 that can go towards the amazing CGI, and you just want to put abortion in there, that's cool. That makes sense. Run away.
okay, but yeah, like I'm saying, like I'm interested, like why didn't they adapt that aspect of the comic and not and like sort of push in the whole him being in love with the gardener.
So I kind of liked it. I liked how, because it just saves on casting, right? Like, have this woman who has an affair with Roderick Burgess, right? And then she gets pregnant, and instead of having this random person or having this other person that's going to take away from screen time and character building, have this other person be introduced, and then they steal the gems. Just have her run away. Why does she run away? Well, let's get her pregnant, and then he wants an abortion. That sounds like a Roderick Burgess thing to do. He's an asshole. And
Yeah.
then now she's got all three of them, and then she can trade with the demon, right? She can give she can hold on to the gem, and then the sand does the Joanna Constantine thing, which we'll get to in here in a second.
Yes, I mean, like,
I get that.
I think we're going to touch on the
It's
amulet
writing.
protection, which I think was added for the show. I don't think that was necessary. But like back to episode 1, I don't like that they killed Roderick Burgess. Like they hit his head. Like the whole point in the comic was that like he was trying to avoid getting old, and like he's like basically like an old man, like telling Dream in the comic, like I didn't have to get so old.
Yeah.
If you would just bargain with me. I think that was like a pretty powerful scene.
Such a good scene.
But they sort of did the
In
same
the
thing with
comics.
Alex. But I thought the first episode was okay.
But also, we're talking about we had Tywin Lannister, right?
I know, so like keep him in the episode longer. That's what I'm saying.
He's an amazing actor. Have him give that amazing speech. I just would have really have enjoyed that.
Yeah, I thought also it was kind of weird. They have like paid security guards in uniforms while they're holding what they would probably say. They don't understand that he's like the Dream of the Endless, but like if you take a job and your whole job is to like guard a naked man in a glass ball, that obviously, like if you showed up at work one day like this is kidnapping, like this guy is being held against his will. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to sit a paycheck. It's like they look like they're like actual 9-to-5ers, and it's like you would have to like pay someone and like explain to them like this is illegal what we're doing, but it was just very strange that like you shouldn't have like security guards in uniforms guarding your prisoner who's a guy. I think
Or have super hardcore like private military. Making,
like that. That would have made more sense.
Yeah, not too like
not too like out of shape, like incompetent.
Yeah.
Like
but
ball
then how
cops.
do you fall asleep? You gotta have how do you get a security guard to fall asleep?
Who are like literally just. Oh yeah, and also like doesn't his husband like just like ruin the circle, and it's like whatever. He like looks back and sees like
he like looks at it.
problem.
I think it's purposeful though. Like I think the husband feels empathy for that guy for fucking Morbius, the Dream Man.
Even though he knows that Dream is going to punish his husband, which he does.
Yeah,
so
I mean, he's dead. Yeah, he still feels bad about it. I thought that was plausible. Like I like to think one, I would have, as soon as my dad died, I'd be like, I'm so sorry this happened, let me get you out of here. Like I would have like looked at like the numbers and like this only ends in 2 ways: I die or I let him out. Right? I would have just apologized.
Well, yeah, it was just like he's like, just say he won't kill us and we'll let you go.
Yeah,
and like
oh my gosh, yeah.
But I think in the comic that didn't happen. I think Alex literally tried to make the exact same deal as his dad. He tried to like,
yeah. In the comics, Alex did, yeah.
So
Alex,
I didn't really like that. I didn't like that
shit.
change either. So like that's one of my basic issues with the show is like none of the changes I feel enhanced what was in the comic. I think they were just done mainly.
I felt a couple of them. We'll talk about it as we go on. I felt there were a couple minor changes. I agree, getting rid of some characters here and there. But
like
I
can see like
want to blood the cast.
Yeah, so he escapes in
right.
the first episode. Go ahead.
One thing I was thinking of, like, what do you think would have happened? Remember he was holding his hand up on the ball, and he was about to reach out. What do you think exactly would have happened if they touched, or was he just?
Well, I didn't know he could like actually go through the
them?
glass. Yeah, I know. How could he like put his hand through the glass? That made no sense to me.
Shattered it.
I don't think it was shattered. I don't think.
Eventually, not on.
Well, that was before. We're talking about like in the present day it's shattered, but like before, like when he killed the Raven, and he's trying to like reach out to Alex. Apparently, he could like put his hand through the glass. So I don't know. That didn't make sense to me. They should have explained that better. But yeah, let's move on to episode 2. So he escapes. He goes back to dreaming. It's like a wasteland. He meets Lucienne,
right? Who is ginger swapped, which I don't have a problem with. Like I've always said, cast the best actor, especially when you have like they didn't have to change the name.
That's
it's
the thing,
Lucienne
though.
in the comics,
Yeah,
and I really
like
enjoyed
fit the
her.
role.
That's the thing.
I really
it wasn't done because she was the best actress. I don't think they auditioned like a bunch of like white or male dudes for this role. I think they specifically wanted a POC female for this.
Completely dictates the rest of like her.
I understand what you're saying though. Like if she was like the best actor out of like if they like audition like white males, white females, and she was the best. Yeah, but they didn't audition.
That's not what you're feeling. Yeah,
You know,
and
so-
I say this as this is my same stance with Doctor Strange and Tilda Swinton, right? Like she was phenomenal for the role, right? Fuck whatever.
Yeah, she was
Fuck
like the actress wasn't bad, but it's just
Yeah.
like saying like that she was the best actor they auditioned. It was like, well, I think they specifically wanted a POC female, but the thing is like the character is like so minor in the comics that I understand why. I mean, they wanted diversity, which is is fine with me, but it's just like it wasn't done for storytelling purposes, and they don't think they auditioned a wide spectrum of actors. So, but like I said, like all the actors in this show were great. So like
She
no one
wasn't
was
bad,
there wasn't
and
a
that's
poor,
all that
there wasn't a
matters.
poor actor.
You're absolutely right. I think the worst actor was Rosemary. But besides that, and she was just Rosemary Wood,
Rose
the girl.
Walker?
Rose Walker. Rosemary.
Oh, I
Who am
thought she did a
thinking
pretty
of?
good job.
I thought
And
she was
like-
okay.
At least her hair was colorful like in the comics. But
Oh
yeah,
yes,
there were-
I did enjoy that that homage to the comics, but like as I thought back about this, I was like, was this to the caliber of Stranger Things? Like those are 4 to 7 to 10 adorable kids, depending on the season, right? And in that that youthful age bracket that you really fell in love with over a season. And my question is, did I really fall in love with her over half a season? But we will talk about that next episode when we cover the second half of Prey. No, I'm kidding. Sandman.
part 2 of our
Yeah,
7-part
things
series on
started
Prey.
picking It started picking up in the second half.
Yeah, well, it's episode 2. That's when I think he doesn't start looking for his tools. That's when he goes to the Hecate, and he talks to the
Some parts
Fates.
did get a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't read the comic in like 10 years, so like a lot of it was like, oh, I remember this vaguely, but for the most part, like the first 5 episodes followed the comic pretty closely. He has to like, and each episode was like devoted to him finding a different tool, and
I did like the structure.
Yeah, so and then episode 2, like he has to. That's where he's back in the dreaming. He sees everything's like messed up. He goes to find. I like Cain and Abel. That was funny. Like, thanks for burying me in a shallow grave, brother, when you murdered me.
I love I love how like Cain is still
They're
killing
just so
Abel.
casual about it.
Forgot
well,
that
it's happened so
gargoyle
often.
only
Yeah.
be named with a G.
But it's interesting because I think Lucian, Cain, and Abel were all like hosts of these anthology comics before Sandman, like in the 70s. Like Cain was the House of Secrets
Mystery.
host.
Was he House of Horrors or House of Mystery?
Well,
House of Secrets
one
or
was House of
Horrors?
Mystery, one was House of Secrets. So these are like two different like
Yeah,
horror anthologies.
One was
And,
Cain,
like,
one was Abel. Yes, you're right.
Cain was the host for one, and Abel was the host for another. I think Lucian was like there's like another series like Secrets of the Haunted House. I think Lucian might have been the host for that one, but it's
Can I
interesting because
talk
these were
for a
all like previously established DC characters.
Can I gush for a second on the lore? Like I haven't been this excited about the lore of a television show since like Game of Thrones, right? Like, are you talking like Lucian's in charge of a library that has every book that's ever written, ever will be written, ever thought of, right? Like this is like a cool fucking world that we like the Sandman lives in. Like this is exciting. This is good storytelling. I just wanted.
And
to,
it was also weird,
I
like
before, but I just want to point it out again.
Yeah, it was
And how
interesting
massive
because
that library was. Like if
Yeah.
you look over the edge on some scenes, they just keep going down.
Right?
That was
I
kinda
mean,
cool.
every book, like that's amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting because like this is like a DC show, and it was interesting like what characters they could and could not use in the DC universe. Like, and there's like in the first volume of Sandman, like there were so many like major DC characters. Like I think Martian Manhunter shows up, and I think the first couple issues, obviously John Constantine, but I don't think they could use because they didn't have the rights, so they just made Joanna Constantine, and
Constantine.
I think Etrigan the Demon meets him in Hell, who's another
Yeah.
major DC character.
The Scarecrow meets him in Arkham.
Oh
Asylum.
yeah, I think, and obviously the Arkham Asylum itself wasn't in the show, so they
here's
definitely
my
like. I think they had to
question
like. There was definitely a lot of like rights issues of what characters they could and couldn't use, but
But how? How did DC lose this? this seems to me like the source material. This seems to me like the perfect entrance into the DCEU on HBO Max. You start with the Sandman, and you keep it to the source material, and then you have an Etrigan show, right? And you've got the Arkham show, which is like the Gotham Knights, the police show they have, right? And you have all these side characters that have their own, that they get introduced in the Sandman, and then have their own spin-off shows. Like, this was an excellent chance for DC to really expand their footprint and take some Marvel market share.
Well, it's
right?
interesting, like, why this wasn't an HBO Max show, because, you know, HBO Max is owned by Warner Brothers, and I think Netflix is not owned by Warner Brothers.
It's not?
So I thought it was interesting that
I thought it was crazy.
Netflix. I thought it was interesting Netflix chose, or Warner Brothers chose Netflix to preview this, not HBO Max.
Right, like,
especially because this was like being filmed, you know, produced way before the Warner Brothers Discovery merger, and I know like HBO Max is sort of like on its way out, but I would assume that they would want their DC properties on HBO Max, not Netflix. Similarly, like why Disney doesn't want any Marvel properties on Netflix anymore.
As someone who,
that's probably like why that's why they had so many issues like getting actual DC characters in the show that were in the comic.
And let me ask you this about DC, about these character issues, right? You can't use the character John Constantine because it's not owned by you.
I think J.J. Abrams is doing his own Constantine show. Or Constantine. Oh, yeah, you're right. 100% right. That's actually how he's pronounced in the comic. Yeah, I think so, Constantine is the actual, but I think...
Constantine's cooler, right? But, like, Constantine is, like, the correct way to say it in, like, Old English or whatever, right? So, but you have a character, John Constantine, right? But you can't use him because of rights issues. So you create a character, a female version of him called Joanne Constantine. Like, that just seems like copyright infringement, right? This seems like intellectual property stealing. Like, why don't we have a Duperman, right? or a Catman or an Ant-Man? Wait a second, we do.
Letrigan. Oh, nice. I know you could actual show.
Yeah.
I think we've just been drinking Ovaltine for so long. That's why we're pronouncing Constantine. So if we'd been calling it Ovaltine all this time, then yeah, it would be.
Well, let me ask you this: like, Constantine just sounds better than Constantine.
Yeah. But yeah. So
to my American ears, anyway.
But on the subject of Constantine, I thought she did a good job. Although I thought the line where, like, you know, he's like the Sandman's a fairy story. Hetty immediately proceeds to go exorcise a demon.
Right. But, like, that's one of my favorite things about John Constantine is, like, he's balls deep in dark magic, and then every once in a while he's like, nah, that doesn't exist. Like The Witcher, right, in season 1, like, he's balls deep in killing, like, magical beasts, and then he, like, looks over at a dragon, and he's like, gold dragons don't exist, but that guy's a gold dragon dressed as a human, or shapeshifted as a human. Like, that's one of my favorite things. It's like these experts of these sci-fi high fantasy monster killers, and they're like, nah, that doesn't exist, and then they get their ass kicked by it later on.
And also Rick the Vic is a dude in the comics, and I was just like, all right, so they gender bent Rick the Vic, but what female name can you make a nickname for Rick? Like, Vic, yes, Victoria, but, like, I don't know, it was like Ricky Lake. Yeah, what's Ricky short for? Okay. That just bothered me. Like I get, like, they gender bent as much as they could. Just, you know. Apparently, her real name is Ricky. That's her actual first name.
So it's with an I. Yeah, so that's hip.
But yeah, I was just like, really? They had the gender bent Rick the Vic? Like, you know, it sounds weird to me. I don't know. But besides, that was like the only, I think, gender bent issue I had. Anyway, besides that, there was a lot of, like, Constantine lore. If you've read Hellblazer, they mentioned, like, several of his like Kit Ryan was, like, his major girlfriend during Garth Ennis's run. But you know, I think they were pretty faithful to the comics, where, like, you know, Constantine's ex-girlfriend has the sand, and she's like, it's like a heroin addict. She just can't fall asleep. So
you know, Joanne is a lesbian now instead of gender swapping.
Well, Constantine, I think, is bisexual in the comics. Although, like, in his early comics, I don't think like he had like he mostly like girlfriends, but I think he had like experimented with boys like when he was younger. So I mean, like, Constantine being bisexual, that's nothing new. So this show wasn't like breaking ground with that. But I understand like they had to like use Joanna. They didn't have to, but it was either gender bend John Constantine or create a new character altogether. Because I don't think they could use John. They couldn't use John. They couldn't use John Constantine.
No problem.
Because of rights issues. So like, not a big deal. But yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought like the whole she has to exercise a demon, but I thought it was weird. Like, could she not exercise him without killing the football player? Seemed kind of like she wasn't very good at her job. But I know I didn't like the demon design. It was basically just like a Jamaican guy with like his vertebrae exposed. So it wasn't the best demon design.
Oh
but,
yeah.
But yeah, I like the misdirect. Like you thought, like the princess was possessed, which was another story in the Constantine comics where like a member of the royal family gets possessed by a demon and he's like going out killing people. So I guess that they got some inspiration from that. But I think there was an interesting misdirect. There was actually the football player or soccer player who was
that was a good misdirect.
The demon. So, but yeah, I liked, and also I think you saw like the girl got killed by the demon early in the episode. That was also from the Hellblazer comics. It's a very famous storyline from Newcastle. So they did like another version of that. I think that also happened on the Constantine TV show with Matt Ryan on NBC. I never watched it, but I think they adapted that as well. So, but that's like a major event in the Constantine history. So,
with Astra.
Yeah. Also, what was the point of that old lady? Like, she says like the Sandman's coming, and then like a second later, the Sandman's here, and then she's I understand the point of that old lady character. She was like sort of in the background. Like I think they could have easily just had like Sandman show like, Joanna Constantine, I have business with you, and he's like, I'm going to work, and then like afterwards he's talking to her like in the distance, and then like she goes
Just
away. So
I don't think.
I guess there's gonna be a Hetty. I guess there's gonna be a Hetty spinoff or something. I don't know. That character was just weird. I don't think she. It's been a long time since I've read the comic, but I don't think the character was in it. Anyway, let's go on to episode 4. He goes to hell. Yeah. Well, let's talk about. I think we talked all about. Yes, he goes to HE double hockey, but we also forgot to mention Raven, the Raven Matthew.
Played by the great Patton Oswalt.
I like that line, like, you were spying on me. He's like, I was spying on you. If I was spying on you, you'd never know it.
Yes, that was great. At first, I wasn't the hugest fan. It kind of like threw me off. Not to the level of seeing like...
From going, everyone's so serious to this.
Needed some... Yeah, they needed like a comic relief.
Like
right, I was like, did Marvel take over this halfway through? Like, what is Matthew Conan here with this lighthearted humor?
I'm pretty sure that the character Matthew is like the soul of Matthew Cable in the body of a raven, and Matthew Cable is Abigail Arcane's husband, who is Swamp Thing's love interest. And Constantine originated in the Swamp Thing comics. So I was wondering if they were going to mention Swamp Thing at all, because I think he might have a cameo in the Sandman comics. Could be wrong, but obviously, like the first few issues of the Sandman series were very heavily rooted in DC Universe. But then, like as the series progressed, they referenced it a lot less.
Oh yeah.
Although I think like Darkseid comes to his wake at the very end, but besides that, I think
we have Hector, right? And
Hector Hall, who is Hawkman's son.
Hawkman's son, then Lyda, who is Wonder Woman's son. So I mean, it's still there.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
We're going to, So Lyda is the Wonder Woman's son. Lyda is the daughter of Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor, or Steve Trevor. Yeah.
Oh okay. I think I just know like Hector Hall, and also there's like another. There's like 3 superheroes called the Sandman in DC Universe. Nothing to do with the Sandman in the Marvel Universe. But the first Sandman was Wesley Dodds, who was basically just like a guy who wore a gas mask and had a sand gun who would like make criminals fall asleep. Second Sandman, I think, was created by Jack Kirby, and I think he was called something Sanderson or something. But like this, like Dream is like the 3rd Sandman in the DC universe, because there were like two other superheroes.
So the Sandman you're thinking of with Jack Kirby is actually referenced in this TV show when we see Jed.
Yeah,
When Jed
and
is dressed up and he calls himself the Sandman when he's with that nightmare Gaunt.
yeah, who's
So,
also changed from was it Glob and Brute?
yeah, so there were originally four that four Arcana, right? These four rogue dreams and nightmares that Morpheus had to go get, right? But storytelling is better in threes. So I like, that's a change that I do like. Condensed down to three people, especially since Glob and Gloud or whatever their names were working together anyway.
Yeah, but we're not gonna get into those episodes
No,
today.
not
and
yet.
Also, yes, I don't know. They changed Brute and Glob into Galt. It was like a shapeshifter. I don't know. There might have been another rights issue. I don't think they're, maybe the Jack Kirby's estate won't let them use them.
Yeah, I haven't heard about any rights issues. I just think it was like I really enjoyed her tiny little arc, right? Like a nightmare who just wants to be a dream. Like I love that. But we'll talk about that in the future.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Hell. All right, let's go to Hell.
Yeah, so Hell is interesting. It was like, well, obviously in the comics, like the demon who greets Dream at the gates of Hell was Etrigan. But in this comic, it was Squatter Bloat, which I think was like a minor character in the comics. But
Etrigan's
I thought it was, yeah. He's
demon.
another Jack Kirby
rhymes.
creation. Yeah, he rhymes, and this demon rhymes. So I heard them rhymes like Etrigan. Etrigan is like, oh no, it's not. They couldn't get the rights. But I thought it was interesting. Like Dream had such a hard time getting into Hell. Like who has a hard time getting into Hell? I'm pretty sure like getting out is the hard part. Well, no, it was just like Sandman Dream had like, dude, it's Hell. Let me in. Nobody wants to be here. Just let me in. So it was like, all right, I guess I'll let you. It's like Hell was like an exclusive club or something.
Why is
like,
this a gated community?
Why are you giving me such a hard time? It's Hell.
List.
It's a freaking prison, essentially. So he goes. I thought Lucifer's house like Hogwarts.
He saw a Squatter Blot.
He follows Squatter Blot, and also you notice the people in the trees.
Yes. Yeah.
So like in the comics, it's called the Forest of Suicides. And as you're walking by, the trees are saying like, I couldn't take it anymore. Like it was too much pain, and I couldn't, I was
God, the
depressed.
comics
So
are
like,
so good.
the comics are like very, very dark, and that's why I felt like they were afraid to adapt some things in the show. And I guess the Force of Suicide. I mean, there's something else I think they didn't want to adapt later on. We'll get to, but like that's just like like I said, like the comic has always been progressive, but I think they dialed up like the wokeness, for lack of a better term,
to 11.
But also so I think they were also very, very afraid of offending in some cases, so like
it's Netflix, dude. If Dave Chappelle came and fucking get
although
away
I do
with it,
commend them
I
for
hate
still
the
making the Corinthian gay and villainous. Not that he was villainous because he was gay, but like he was a villain who just happened to be gay.
Yeah, not just like a hint, not just hinting, and then like later on you have to like ask the director after the first season, is this character gay? Like this is just straight out gay.
But like he sleeps with the guy who's like looking over Rose's house, but he doesn't kill him. And I was like, okay, they did that because they didn't want to like offend anyone. And the same thing, like the reason Dr. Destiny didn't, or John D didn't kill the woman who gave him the ride. Like he kills her in the comic, but I think they didn't kill her because they didn't want.
Her name's Rosemary. Yes, that's who I was thinking of. Isn't her name Rosemary?
Okay, she was a bad actress.
No. Rose Walker. I didn't love Rose Walker's performance with the whole Stranger Things. Like it wasn't bad at all. But when you look at like Stranger Things or Stark, or if you look at other like examples of young actors portrayed in this time period, like you can fall in love with a character in a single season, and I just didn't fall in love with this character.
Yeah, but we'll get that. That's like part 2 of the series. So like he goes to Hell, he finds his helm. They have the character with like half her face missing, who I don't think shows up until like volume 4, Season of Mist, which is like I guess what season 2 is going to adapt.
So that was another difference in the comics, right? In the comics, Hell, Lucifer Morningstar has lost his control, gender swapped his control, and is now in charge of Hell with 2 other generals,
Azazel and Beelzebub. So I really wish they. But to be fair, in Season of Mist, it's never explained why it's not Triumvirate anymore. He's the sole ruler of Hell. And it's never explained what happened to Beelzebub and Azazel. So I mean, I can understand why they didn't include those.
Oh, definitely.
Two.
I was just
It would have been
pointing
nice
it
to
out.
see them. It would have been cool to see how they adapted Azazel, because it's basically like a bunch of eyes, right? It's like
Right.
he's a very weird design in the comics, and like Beelzebub's just like a giant,
Well,
disgusting
didn't
fly.
we see Azazel at the end when we'll get to it in a second? But it wasn't that the giant rip with the mouth and the eyes talking about making a deal with Lucifer Morningstar?
Was that the season finale?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, I haven't seen it. I've only on episode
Oh,
8.
Jumping
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Oh,
But they should have like if they. But
No,
like
I
you
mean-
said, if he was in the episode season finale, they should have introduced him in episode 4. So.
Yes, I agree. Right? Say hello.
And also, I hated. I didn't
so
like
good.
the.
It
I
looks
didn't
so
like.
good.
Oh really?
The
So,
CGI looks so good. Yeah, you're gonna love it, dude.
I
was
did like.
really
I did like
impressed.
Lucifer's palace. It looked very epic and big, but it did look like Hogwarts.
Yes. I did not like the way Lucifer looked. The wings looked
Which is
like
like,
shit.
is that
like,
is that a reference to like while parents thought Harry Potter was satanic back in the day? Is that why Hogwarts? Is that why Satan's palace is so much like Hogwarts?
I just think
That was a nod.
I just think everyone here was British. Like Dream, right? The Sandman has a very punchable face. As an American, looking like that guy has a very punchable face. And the whole time, the first episode, I was just thinking the whole time, I was like, shouldn't this be played by Edward Cullen? But I did grow to fall in love with the actor, and I think the casting is perfect.
Yeah, and
But it just might be a British
you know,
thing, right? All the actors are British.
I
that
think,
might
and
be a
obviously he
British
does not look
cast.
like he does in the comic. He definitely has pale skin in this and black hair, but his eyes are. You can see the whites in his eyes,
The hair's
And-
not nearly as.
spiky and crazy. And he's not like, and he's wearing
Yeah.
just like a black trench coat. He's not like wearing like a black robe or anything. They could like at least in the costume a little better. But I'll just say that apparently Neil Gaiman said that they screen tested a more comic accurate Morpheus, and it didn't look very good. So, but if you look in the episode 2 where he looks in the pool, you can see in his reflection it looks basically like what he looked like in the comic. He's like the glowing
That's fun. See,
star
that's
eyes.
fun.
So they definitely, I think they
What-
tried to here's what we tried to do and didn't work out. But yeah, so
he was
back
a
to
hint at it.
so obviously in the comic, like Karazhan, whatever, the demon who steals his helm. Oh no, by the way, I
Right.
hated Karazhan. Karazhan looked like Piccolo from Dragon Ball Evolution in this, and it really threw me out of the episodes. Like, because in the comic he has like 2 mouths, and he's like, I think he has like red or pink skin, and he's the one that actually challenges Dream, and they actually have a competition
And that's
where
what
like
it
I'm the
does,
dire wolf,
yeah.
I'm the hunter. And I think they sort of stretched out that, what was it? I guess the Duel, the oldest game. I don't know what it's called, but like I thought they stretched it out like, I am a dire wolf. And it was
No,
interesting,
so
like
actually- It's actually extremely close. I went back and checked it out afterwards.
I think the
It's like
dialogue is spot on. But that being said,
it includes everything except anthrax. I don't think they included anthrax, which is like literally the only.
they probably didn't
one.
want. They probably didn't want to offend. I don't know because
Which which I thought was very weird to not to include. Like anthrax is a 20-year-old crisis. Like
Yeah.
that seems weird not to include.
Well, he said
it,
like
but-
she said like I'm a bacterium. Same thing. But I
Oh,
really like
okay, yeah.
I really like what they say like affects them. In like real time. Like he says bacterium, he gets like all sick.
If you pitched that to me in an elevator, I would hit door open and I would drop kick you out of it. I thought they pulled that off very well. Like that is a stupid scene, and I don't know if Marvel or DC could have pulled it off as elegantly as the Sandman did.
Why did he have to wear like a black like a tight leather costume for that competition?
I don't know.
I don't know the point of that. He could just like wear his regular clothes. I think that's what. Because in the comics, like they're both like Karazhan like transforms like this pinstripe suit with a fedora, like he's in like in a club or something in the 20s. And I think like Stream is the same thing. Like that would have been a lot cooler to see. And it's like, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Sandman, and we're gonna have a competition.
If you take a step back and you look at it, it's a stupid contest. Like these are creatures who are tens of thousands, if not millions of years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like they haven't played this game 100,000 million times to the point where they know like cheat code and they know the answer. They know how to like.
Yeah, and also, how does
get bored.
a world beat bacteria? That didn't really make sense to me.
Because the world's bigger than the bacteria, so you get herd immunity, bitch. Ta-cha-cha. My question is, how does
get
hope
what?
beat anti-life? Oh, herd immunity.
You could have just said, I'm anti-hope. I went.
I thought she was
I
gonna be
thought-
like, I'm despair. Like despair is the opposite of hope. So one of the
Yeah,
things I did
exactly.
like though, how it ends, right? Is she's like, so Lucifer's all like butthurt about losing the duel, right? She doesn't lose the duel, she forfeits, right? She's like, I'm pulling out, I quit. This is bullshit. Take your fucking helmet and get the fuck out of here. Take your helmet and leave. Right? And then she's like, you think you're so cool, Dream. You suck. You're powerless here. And then he turns around and he's like, oh, do dreams have no power here in hell? Wouldn't hell be worthless if the captors
power does
could
hell
dream of
have if-
heaven?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. What power does
What
hell
power
have?
does hell have if there's a prison here? Can't dream of heaven. So.
And dude, one of the greatest lines.
Yeah.
So fucking good. You just, and it's from the comics, right? It's just
Yeah, that's exactly
gushing.
from the comics. So
It's so like the source material is juicy. Go out and get this comic. If you can support your local fucking comic book shop, fucking grab volume 1, grab volume 2. You know, if you want to spoil season 2 of Netflix, grab volume 3. But it's such a good fucking comic. Like Neil Gaiman is just killing it here.
yeah, definitely his magnum opus. He's written so many good things like American Gods, which I think they did an adaptation. I don't think they did do an adaptation on Stars. I think it got canceled prematurely. It just ventured off from the novel too much. I lost interest after season 1, but I did enjoy the parts that actually adapted the book. So it should have been like I think I've said this before on the podcast, it should have been like a limited series. Besides that, and I think Good Omens and Caroline, I think you wrote that animated movie where the
really?
eyes get replaced by. He's done a lot of children's books. He was on episode of Arthur. There's a anthropomorphic aardvark version of Neil Gaiman on the Arthur cartoon.
That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, look it up
so
on
much.
YouTube. But he has a very distinctive voice. I think he narrates. He's a narrator for the Sandman audiobook. But you know, he's not. He doesn't do the entire thing. Like they have like a full cast for it. But from what I heard, it was really good. Because
You hear that, Alan Moore? You hear that?
Yeah, it's like Neil Gaiman, you know, Garth Ennis are very, very supportive of the adaptations of their work, but Alan Moore is just like, screw Joel.
I'll never watch anything.
I mean, to be
like
fair, Alan Moore did have a legitimate gripe with DC. They definitely did screw him over. They said like you can have the rights to Watchmen, you know, once, but they turned around and said like you have the rights to Watchmen after it goes out of print, but it never went out of print. So they said like we don't have to give you the rights, and then he was like, okay, well I'm done with DC.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but yeah, I think like he absolutely despised what they did with League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and From Hell. So I think he washed his hands of Hollywood. But I think Neil Gaiman and Garth Ennis, and I think are definitely more supportive and involved with their adaptations of their work. And then I think they're both executive producers.
Definitely. I mean, I love like their involvement and the trueness, the truthiness, to take Stephen Colbert's word, the truthiness to the source material, right? As opposed to something like Mark Millar, who like sells rights to Hollywood and doesn't give a fuck what you do with the property afterwards. Like you take Wanted and turn it into whatever you want to.
Oh yeah, Mark Millar is also, I guess, supportive of
Super. I think he's too supportive.
Well, he writes the comic. He sells the synopsis before he even writes it, or before he even publishes it. I think he might like write the script, give it to the producers. They'll like greenlight it, the movie, and then he'll publish the comic or have it drawn or whatever. So he's like
really?
very much.
I love it. That's great.
I think he's already done enough like of his own stuff, like Millar World. Like you know, obviously Kick-Ass was part of that.
Right.
The Secret Service movies or the Kingsman movies, which was called the Secret Service in the comics. Super Crooks was another one. Wanted, obviously they did. I'm trying to think. There's like one called like Superior. There's one like I think the Magic
Legacy?
School.
Did you
Jupiter's
forget about
the
Jupiter's
big one?
Legacy?
Yeah, the biggest one. Yeah, besides the Kick-Ass, but yeah, first Kick-Ass movie was amazing. So like you know, I don't know.
The second Kick-Ass 2 had Nicolas Cage, so I'm torn.
No, it had Jim Carrey. First one had Nicolas Cage.
Oh, then the first one's definitely better.
Oh yeah, it is. I enjoyed the second one though. Like I liked Jim Carrey. He was like totally unrecognizable, but I liked it. It wasn't as good as the first one, but it was like, you know, I think it got way more hate than it deserved. That being said, Sandman. Last episode we'll go
5?
on to Yeah, John Dee. So this was the episode I think they definitely deviated the most from in the comic.
Okay, yes. This was
Maybe that might have been a good thing, but I don't. I'm probably more disappointed than I am relieved. But yeah, this was definitely the most
deviated. How? So, like in the comic books, like John Dee makes him have an orgy in the diner.
Yeah.
Are you talking about that kind of deviation, or are you talking?
Well,
about
no. There's like basically, I think there's a lot. I think there's only like 6 characters in the episode, but I think there's a lot more people in the diner in the comic. And I think like the depravity and like what they do, like there's like obviously what they did do that was faithful was like her taking the knives and putting them in her eyes. But I think the lesbian girl does that in the comic. And but I did like like is weird. They were faithful with. I think the lesbian character was in it, and she was there in the diner waiting to call her girlfriend. And I think she knew Rose, but I think she hit her girlfriend because she was jealous. So like that was I think intact. But I think like all the other characters, like the fry cook sleeping with the Matrix's son, that I don't think that was in the comic.
I'm not sure about that, but the interview was a part of it. The couple was a part of it.
Yeah, it's been a long time since but I'm pretty sure like 'cause there's like one scene where like they're all parading Dr. Destiny or John Dee around. He has like the word God written in blood on his chest, and like
he's like naked and he's
bites
got
off.
in blood.
He bites off like someone's finger and like they draw it, and like like one of the I think there's like cannibalism. Like one guy like thinks he's a wolf or something, like bites off, and like another one like rapes the lesbian girl. So I could probably understand why they didn't do that, but yeah, it was a lot more depraved.
So earlier in the podcast, we were talking about like how they didn't follow the source material in the darkness later on, and this is what you were referring to as the diner episode. Yeah,
I mean, it was definitely dark, obviously, and they did their version of it. But I think what
I think it was
let me backtrack a little bit.
Okay,
So in the comic, John Dee escapes prison from Arkham Asylum. He doesn't have the amulet protection, which I think was added for the show.
No, he does. He does have the amulet. Because this is one of my favorite parts about Arkham and the lore of Arkham, right? So, like, in the comics, because I double-checked this today, getting ready for the podcast, the mom has the amulet of protection, and she dies. And so John Dee, who's in Arkham, gets the amulet of protection. Okay. Not the amulet of protection, the dream ruby. And then he goes to the actual warehouse in the comic and gets it. But I think he just has a gun in the comic. He might have had the amulet. I don't remember it. I just know he holds the woman at gunpoint, and like right away, like she knows she's a hostage. And the thing is, like, she's afraid of him right from the start. But they start to get talking. Rosemary,
and they become on better terms. Yeah, the woman who gives Mariah, I guess it's called Rosemary. So like basically, like she was always a hostage at the beginning of the comic, and like he has the gun on her, and like at the very end, like they made peace, like thanks for talking with me, and he's like, were you gonna go to the police? And she was like, no, and he's like, well, it would have made any difference, and he shoots her. So and then obviously in the show he gives her the amulet protection, but like it's a lot darker in the in the comic, and also he's a lot more deformed. In the comic, because he hasn't been dreaming for like the past 50 years, so he's very much like disheveled and like skeletal and disgusting.
Okay. All right, so I just googled it. I googled it. I was right the first time. His mom does pass on the amulet of protection, and he gets it in Arkham Asylum, and that's how he's able to escape. And then he gets in the car to go to the warehouse to get the actual ruby dream.
Yeah, but he also has like a gun, and that's like that's what he uses to.
Right. So, but he
shoots Rosemary also.
My hilarious point that I wanted to point out was how incompetent Arkham Asylum is, and that they give him like this guy is locked up, and they give him like an amulet of protection, even if you don't know what it is. Especially if you don't know what it is, don't give it to an inmate. And like like that guy, like it's a necklace. That guy could just choke someone out or kill someone.
And
or kill himself. Like dumb, like that's dumb writing, but like whatever, like that's it just goes to the incompetency of Arkham Asylum, and to that point,
think how many lives have been saved if the employees of Arkham Asylum could keep the Joker locked up. People always blame Batman, like you've killed so many people because you let Joker live. It's like it's not my fault. Arkham Asylum just sucks at their job. They can't Batman keep these guys locked up.
Just keeps
right,
it's I give it go ahead.
What I want to see in the next Batman Reeves the Bat Reeves universe, right, is this edgy ground to earth story about how the inmates in Arkham Asylum make minimum wage, and therefore it's not worth any of their lives. And like they only make minimum wage because Arkham Asylum keeps getting broken out of. So like the reconstruction cost takes out of all of like the money in Arkham's like that Arkham has, so they can only afford to pay their employees minimum wage. And that's why their employees are so bad, and that's why these inmates keep escaping. Like, I think that would be like a really good in-world explanation for why these guys keep getting out.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Also,
Right?
But yeah, back to that's a very good point.
Yeah.
It's a very good point, and you know, it really just goes to show this was not Arkham Asylum. It apparently was in Buffalo, New York, so it was Arkham Buffalo branch, I guess. So anyway, he escapes from prison. And you know, he drives to Rosemary. But back to episode 5, like, so after he like kills everyone in the diner, Dream shows up. But in the comic, it's such a cool scene because he's like, basically everyone's dead in the diner, and Dr. Destiny is just there waiting for Dream. He's like, there you are. You don't even look strong enough to make this interesting. And like, you know, because like Dream's just shambles in because he's like, you know,
he's weak.
Yeah, so I did like that they changed that. Like, that was such a cool, like, because like that's like the very end of the comic where he's like, you know, he's just waiting for him in the diner, and he's like, you don't even look strong enough. And it really just makes Dr. Destiny look like a very formidable threat to Dream, because he's like not even afraid of Dream. He like, you know, he knows that he holds all the cards. And then the next issue is like all about Dream and Dr. Destiny's battle for control. And that just felt so rushed in the 5th episode to me. Like, literally like the last 10 minutes.
What you mean.
Like, you know, I really thought they could have devoted an entire episode where like Dream and Dr. Destiny are like at each other's throats, so they're trying to like, you know, wrestle for control of the dreaming. So that was probably the weakest episode of the entire season for me, from what I've seen.
I agree. When I watched that season, when I watched episode 5, like I texted the group and I was like, I don't know, like, you know, you guys on the podcast have heard me so far random rave how much I love this show. At episode 5, I was like, did like that just get like the rug pulled out from under me? Because, like, you know, it was like so strong and so solid, and then episode 5, it's just so different, right? And it's such a bottle.
Well, the whole episode should have, like, because it was named after the actual issue, where it's like, because the 24/7 issue is like all in the diner. Then at the very end, Dream shows up. That's what they should have done. Like, the entire episode inside. The entire episode should have been in the diner, and then Dream shows at the very end. And they shouldn't even like shouldn't Dream at the very beginning either. They should have shown him at the very end. So it sort of took that away. But yes, you know, that was definitely the weakest episode of the season for me. But like I said, there's a very, very faithful adaptation on YouTube. I think some guy like just did like a fan film where they just adapt that issue, and it's very, very faithful. I think Neil Gaiman actually saw it, and he actually gave him the thumbs up. But
really?
Obviously, I can't remember the name of the channel, but yeah, it's a very faithful adaptation of this issue, and it's probably like one of the best of the series. Well, probably the most infamous of the series of the comic.
Yeah, I think the best.
It's great though.
Which Rob and I cannot wait to talk about next time, and that's going to be the Man Who Lives Forever. Right?
Yeah, let's end right here. But yeah, I'm looking because episode 6 was probably my favorite of the season. Like, it's kind of funny. Episode 5, my least favorite, then was followed by my favorite of the season. So, which was also, like I said, like when this show is faithful to the comic, love it. Same thing with American Gods. Just be faithful, and you've got my approval.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like Netflix, we are going to leave our viewers on a cliffhanger here.
And Major, you go ahead and like plug our social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thank you so fucking much for listening. How did you guys think about Prey? Was this an attempt to go woke, and did they go broke? The box office disagrees. What do you guys think? How did you guys feel about season 1 of Sandman? Did it live up to your expectations? Did you even have expectations going into it? Tweeted us at ZZealot Podcast on Twitter. Comment if we ever throw this bad bitch up on YouTube. All right. We've got a Discord that you can join if you want to. The description is going to be in there. If you enjoyed the podcast, literally word of mouth is the best way to do it. We all Driving a car, right? Most of us need to be out walking, right? And this is a good podcast to walk to, especially after you listen to the episode or watch the episode. You can come listen to the podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, give it a 5-star review. We really appreciate it. It helps us a lot with the almighty algorithm. Again, thanks so much for listening, guys. You've been fucking awesome. I'd say fans 10 out of 10, Sandman 9 out of 10, and Prey 5 out of 10.
I'll give Sandman 8 out of 10. Just because I don't think they fully embrace the epicness of the comic, and I think they changed some things that I don't think enhanced. But
how
yeah,
good
we'll
would
just
this be on HBO Max?
or just HBO, because HBO Max is a different entity, and But yeah,
Touche.
let's end here, and I'm Forrest.
I'm Major.
And I'm Robbie.
And we'll see y'all next time. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, guys.